Okay, so it's time to solder the PCB, and here's the one that's come back from the manufacturer. So I covered this design on my blog, relaycomputer.co.uk, just a couple of days ago, and yeah, basically this is the result that's come back. And I must admit, actually, for a what's supposed to be a budget manufacturer, actually this has seems to come out really good quality. Something always quite nice about PCBs as well. I don't know, I think I went for the original green colour, which is the cheapest, but also in my opinion seems to just come out quite nice. It's quite a retro colour, I suppose. Anyway, so it's now time to get on with some soldering. So effectively we've got all the, I think the way I approach this is to get all the diodes soldered in first, because they're sort of the lowest level component, easiest to get out then. I suspect I haven't quite got enough diodes to do the whole board, so I'll just do what I can, and then I'll have to order some more in. We'll also put down the connectors at the back, got the LEDs down at the front to do, and then it's just a case of just soldering in all the relays in each of these squares that you can see here. So actually, having this board pre-manufactured is probably going to be the quickest way of doing these cards. And as I say, there's 3 of these to do, and the minimum order unit is 5 from GLC PCB. I think that's the name. I'll probably correct it on screen if it's not. Yeah, there's just a lot less soldering to do, a lot less faffing around with wire wrapping and so on. So yeah, let's get this underway. I'll do this as a time lapse, so that's probably the easiest way to do it, and then yeah, we'll see how we get to. Okay, so that's the first round of soldering done. So we've got the diodes down here, and across here. Did actually end up running out as I predicted, so there's still 3 there, 2 there, and 4 there and there. They need adding in, so I'll get some of those on order and pop them in later. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. Connectors down the back, which is all good, and these header pins here are all in, so well under the way. So the next part will be to put the LEDs in, and I'm going to put these in before the relays, because the relay starts making the card quite heavy and quite difficult to move around, so we'll do that a bit later. Soldering wise, again, as you probably saw, it took me a bit of getting going down here. In the end I had to bring the iron temperature up a little bit, especially on these thermal reliefs probably aren't small enough actually, so what's happening is it's still wicking the heat away. Particularly noticeable on the ones up here, because these are going into these large ground and voltage planes, so obviously it just wicks the heat away completely. But otherwise not too bad. I'm not entirely sure this solder's all that good a cop as well. It's from used to be from a company called Maplin, who disappeared a while ago in the UK. And the flux in here seems to be quite variable, so sometimes you get a load of it, sometimes you don't seem to get much. Now that could just be the way it appears, but it wasn't exactly expensive, this roll, so I think next time I'll treat myself to some decent stuff as well and see if that makes a difference. Above and beyond else though, it's more than like it's just my not very good soldering skills, so yeah, bad workman blames his tools and all that. Right, okay, so for the LEDs, what I used to use for these, I'll just get some of these out of my drawers, is one of these. So I don't know where you can see this, but effectively it's got 2 holes in it, like that. And basically you can put LEDs in there. It's a little LED holder block. Now these are quite useful to keeping the LEDs in place. Now you can actually get these where they clip into each other. So if you have multiple ones of these, you can actually have them so they sort of slide together and then lock into a block, which is brilliant then because you get really well spaced LEDs. I couldn't actually find those. They seem to be really, really hard to get hold of. So I stuck with these ones. Now what I did on the other cards was I just try and stick them down with tape or try and keep them in place, but it was a bit of a chore. So for these ones I decided another way of doing it might be, because I'm ordering some PCBs anyway, is to make a PCB like this. And all this is basically just basically a straight PCB with just holes drilled in the right places. So this should then help with spacing. It means that if the LEDs are stuck into there, the spacing should be bang on for my LEDs, which is all good. And now the only trouble is I've drilled these holes slightly too large. In fact, actually, it's not the first time I've had a go at this. I did have a go with these ones over here that were way too large. So we're talking like each time, I think this is now exactly a 3mm hole, but I think actually the body of the LED is slightly less than 3mm, if I remember rightly. So they're still a little bit loose. But what I'll do is I'll put some tape over this, some masking tape, and that'll just help give it a bit of grip when it's going in. So what I'll do is put some masking tape over there, start inserting the LEDs, get them bent so the legs will be right. And the idea basically then is, make sure I get the right one. This will basically then just sit on the front here at an angle like that. And the nice thing is then that'll just sort of just give a reasonably finished result. I'm just going to make sure that I put these in the right position just so they're not fouling those holes or anything like that. But yeah, I'll give it a try anyway. I mean, if that doesn't work, I probably will have to get something decent. But now for the LEDs, we need 16 red LEDs and then 3 green LEDs for the select lines and 3 yellow LEDs for the load lines. Now what I tend to do with these is try to take them out of the same batch. So I've got loads of LEDs here, so what I'll do is I'll look through and make sure I've got at least enough out of the reds and the yellows and so on out of the same batch. So here, there's definitely nowhere near enough reds, so I'll take them out of this batch instead. And the reason for that is just then if there is any difference in them, you wouldn't notice it, because it should be more or less the same brightness. These ones came from Farnell, I think these ones were from Mouser, I think, in the US. So yeah, I'll dig through those. So we'll go back to a time lapse again. Just prep the LEDs, start getting them bent and start soldering them in. Right then, okay, so that's the LEDs all in, as you can see there. Actually, that's gone quite well actually. So they're all more or less regular. There's a few that aren't quite in as far as they should be, but it's like probably about 1/2 mil out if anything. I can live with that. But yeah, it's much neater than the ones I've had to do before. Soldering wise again, I think the thermal reliefs on the negative plane, on the ground plane, were just way too big again, so they were a bit of a pain to solder, but otherwise they've come out alright, all looking quite neat. Starting to get a build-up of the flux on the board now, flux residue. So what I'll do is once this is all soldered up, I'll start cleaning this up. But I don't want to do that until I've soldered all the components in, otherwise it'll start leaking through the holes and makes a mess of the other side. But otherwise, so far so good. So I've actually run out of time for today, so this video is going to continue on probably another evening now actually, so the lighting might change a little bit. But effectively now it's just a case of just sticking all the relays in, and I'll try and get some more of these diodes. But after that, that's about it. So we're well on the way to making this card now. Right, let's fast forward to the next time I do a bit of soldering then. So that's all the soldering done now on that board. We're now a couple of days later from when I was doing that. So the next bit now is to clean all of the board up now. So what you get on the back here is all of the residue from the soldering. So it's all the flux, and that's quite sticky on there. And apart from being a bit unsightly as well, it would eventually start corroding the solder on here. It's only mildly acidic, I think, but it's yeah, it's something you don't really want to leave on there. Now, unfortunately, it's a bit of a pain to get off. Now, really, you could do with some isopropyl alcohol. I do have some, but it's not quite as strong as it should be. So this one's only 70%. Ideally, I think you need some about 90. So we'll give this a bit of a try anyway, just to get it off. It does come off in the past, but it's a bit of a faff. So I'll do a bit of a time lapse on that. But otherwise, I mean, all the soldering's done. We'll then be able to move on to testing. So well, let's do a quick time lapse of cleaning, and then we'll we'll give it a test.